happening, everybody, man? Welcome back. This is my Patreon live stream for week 40. We here, man. Week 40. Jesus. 10 more weeks until a year or something. Nina says I'm kind of nervous. Baby, believe me, I'm the nervous one. I got 16 people, man. I've never had 16 people on my Patreon. I guess this corona shit really been hitting, man. But what's up, everybody, man? Hello to Anna, Alden, Samantha, Alexis, Butter Believe It, Joshua Cruz. Oh shit, man. Hello to everybody, man. Mikael, Hendrik, Nicholas. How you doing, everybody? Joshua said, sorry, Angel, you haven't heard from me. I was sick, had surgery. Wow. So I just disappeared for like a week and a half. But I'm okay now and I'm back to work. I'm great to hear that, buddy, man. Thank God it wasn't the corona or something. But hello to everybody. I got so much to talk about, man. It's been crazy. I actually got two. I got two lists of people critiques that I'm gonna be doing. I got so many new patrons, man. It really means a lot. I got some news that I'm gonna get to. But first. So proud of you, Angel. You go over a Patreon. Thank you so much, man. It really means a lot. I know this, Corona time has been crazy, but I don't know. It's like a good time to get better at art. So stay at home and paint, everybody. Hello to Marcus too. So yeah, actually on Patreon, I just posted. I think it was a couple of days ago. I posted this reference kind of bundle, so I kind of wanted to tell you that you should be using that so I can kind of give you better feedback, these shading references. So make sure you download that and then you send me the your paintings. And then another thing, I'm starting a Facebook group for all the people in the mentorship because I already got like 20 students and I thought that it was going to be a great idea to put everybody in a group so you can kind of talk to each other and kind of look at each other's work. So I'm gonna be posting that on Patreon after the stream or maybe tomorrow. We're gonna see. So a lot of shit happening, man. I think I got like 100 entries for today. So it might be like a 2 hour stream. If you don't have the time, you don't have to watch the full thing, man. But I'm here. I'm excited. Let's get it. The morons virus is like a blessing for people for social media. It kind of is. I've been noticing more attention on social media, especially like Instagram and shit. Yeah, you just stay home and work. How you doing, Max? How you doing, buddy? All right, let's get started. First person that we got, let me get my list. First person that we got is Adriana. I don't know if she's here. Oh, hello to Yana too, man. How you doing? So the first person that we have is Adriana. She's still kind of like in the lane phase, and her work looks pretty cool. Like the lines seem pretty solid. I like the line weight and everything. But I feel for her, let me see what I wrote down. Yeah, for her, I don't feel like they're 3D enough. So something that you have to be aware of when you're doing this lane stuff, and that's pretty much for everybody, is that you always have to be thinking about like the other side, right? Hey, how you doing, Kalini? So when you're drawing, for example, like the eye, make sure that you actually draw like the full eye, right? Like don't just draw like a half moon because that way it just seems kind of flat. So for Adriana, I really like your lines, but I want you to kind of practice more just being a part of the portrait. Like I see that in a lot of people. Like it kind of feels like it's just a bunch of shapes, right? When you're drawing it on top of the reference, I want you to really pay attention to like that. That's not just a circle. Like that circle actually represents the side of the head. And it's the same with everything else. Like for example, this line right here, it just kind of feels like you did it because you know it's there. When you're doing that line, I want you to really imagine that there's actually something there. Like the same for this. So this curve right here is actually going to be like the whole cheek area. So it's going to be a lot more curved. With you, it's a lot more straight, right? So pay attention to exactly where in the face those lines are going to be. And a tip that I can give you is for the line that's going to be the eyebrow to the ear. make sure that you don't really do it straight, because when you do it straight as fuck, it just makes it look even flatter. So if you look at this reference, there's actually sort of an angle, right? Like the eyebrows are going to be going this way and the ear is going to be going this way. So whenever you see that, actually make sure that you exaggerate it, like just a tiny bit. But what you did is you actually down exaggerated it. Is that you downgraded it? Is that a word? Yeah, you downgraded it. So other than that, I think it's pretty good. You just kind of do more, and I think you're gonna be okay with just trying to do some planes, but just make sure that you're aware of all these things that I mentioned. All right, let's get to the next person. Holy shit, so many people in the chat, man. I've never seen my Patreon chat this big, man. I'm so happy. How you doing, Anna, Sony? How you doing? Oh, my boy Chris. It's really sad to be without internet during the quarantine. Oh, you don't have internet? How are you watching this though? I'm still without a stylist. With a stylist, not a stylist. I love how like each person doesn't have a thing. Don't worry, I don't have my virginity, so it's cool. Master pencils and watercolors. Yeah, that's a good way to go. How are you drawing now then? Oh yeah, she's drawing traditional. I'm gonna be doing some critiques of her traditional work. It's amazing. All right, let's get to the next person. Eldon. Alden? Is that how you even pronounce that? I think he's here in the chat. Wait. Alden. Alden. Is that how it is? It sounds like an almond. So for Odin, I'm happy that he kind of did the same pose, because oftentimes I see a lot of people just draw like they don't really get it and they just start a new one. And I feel like if you feel like something is wrong, you can actually repeat it a couple of times. But with Odin, I don't think he really changed anything. I think he kind of kept doing the same thing. But it's still practice though. It's still respectable. What's this thing right here? Is that the time? It looks like a Bible verse. But thank God you practice though. Like an old done. Like an old done. Oh, that's your name. All done. Like everything is done. All done. I get it. All done. Besides the drawings. All right, I'm too fucking spoiled today. Um, so I really like kind of the proportions, but I feel like the lines are way too messy. So first thing for Odin is when you're doing the lay-in, make sure that you don't really add the hair. So a lot of people actually do the planes and they don't add the hair. When you're doing the planes, it's okay for you to add the hair. But when you're doing the lay-in, actually make sure that you're not really thinking about the hair, because it's more important for you to be thinking about the proportions and just the basics of the face, right? So that would be the first thing. And then another thing for Odin is to really think about this box and just to kind of think about it as if it's like a 3D thing. Like I see a lot of people, as I kind of mentioned in the last critique, is that the biggest problem with people is that their work is kind of flat, right? So with with Adriana, like her work is kind of flat, but at least she's kind of thinking about the box. So this box thing, it's kind of like confusing in a way, especially for beginners, but it's just something to be aware of, right? So when you're doing this for Odin, I would advise you to actually print out the reference, because right now I don't really see the reference. Like you just draw on paper. You don't really have a digital tablet. Just print it out and actually lower the opacity first, and then make sure you draw on top of the reference, because when you're not really drawing on top of the reference, like you get three different results with three different proportions, and you can't really compare them like right next to the reference because you keep looking up at the monitor. So I feel like that would be super useful for you. And another thing is that your lines are way too messy, so your lines kind of feel like you're doing this thing with your pencil, right? Like it's kind of like you're going like like a little ant, so be more confident with your lines. Like actually, when you do a circle, don't do it like this, like a hairy line. Like there's nothing wrong. I'm gonna talk later about lines and stuff, there's nothing wrong with going over your lines, right? But when you're going over your lines, make sure that you're going over the same line. Don't be doing this hairy stuff where it's kind of like you're trying to make a big line with small lines, right? So that would be the biggest thing for you right now. Just get the reference, draw on top of it, stop doing the hair, and make sure that when you're doing the lines, you're actually making the whole line. You're not just doing small things. So I think that will be it. You know, just do more. Maybe don't do 6 examples of the same reference. I think just a couple will be okay. Oh, and another thing, when you're doing the lips, yeah, that's important. Um, First of all, start doing the circle for the mouth. Like when you're doing the mouth, make sure you do that circle because it's gonna be really useful. And when you're doing the lips, think more about them as like a straight line and two curves like this because right now yours kind of looks like two sausages, so it's going to be more confusing because you just try to simplify it into like a curve and a curve because if you just have a circle for a mouth, it's going to be kind of confusing because you don't really see the edges, right? Like when with the mouth, most important thing is the corners of the mouth, so the edges. So when you're doing like a circle, it just feels like a sausage or vagina, you know. So that's gonna be it. Make sure you do that. Nina says, I found a little trick with seeing the artwork you look on 3D is to take a break and come to it later and you'll see it more 3D than before, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a good advice. I feel like that's pretty much with everything though. Like when you take a break from your drawing, um, it gives you a lot of perspective on a lot of different things. That's why I kind of take breaks every 30 minutes. So you can kind of put a timer and just take breaks every 30 minutes. All right, next up we got Alexis. I think she's in the chat. How you doing, Alexis, baby? She's been doing some sketches. I'm actually kind of happy with her work. You know, they seem pretty solid. They seem like they got some good proportions. But first thing would be, well, actually, the first thing is to stop using white backgrounds. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but when you're doing like work from the reference, like that's why you see me, like all of my backgrounds, even when I'm sketching, are gonna be around 50%. That's first because you know you're saving your eyes, and second of all because when your reference is on behind the reference is like a darker value and yours is like white, it's kind of distracting, so make sure that your background is always kind of darker. And when it comes to the lines, I want you to make sure that you press harder. So one thing that I think you're kind of doing, Alexis, is that you're zooming in. So that's why you kind of get these really sort of faded lines, right? So as I said later, I have this, I don't remember who, but somebody asked me about lines. So I'm going to be showing you how to think about line weight. But I don't even think that Alexa's problem is even that much with line weight because she knows where to press harder. It's just an overall thing. And she actually asked me, I think Alexis asked me on an email whether she wants to duplicate the sketch file. So there's no need to duplicate. It's all about you just drawing with black and just pressing harder. Like don't be a pussy and just not not touching the tablet. Like your lines need to kind of look like this. Look at yours. Like that's a really faded look. And it's so funny because a lot of people have the opposite problem. Like it just kind of goes to show how random this drawing shit is. Like half of the people press way too hard, the other half are not pressing hard enough. So Alexis, baby, I definitely want you to start pressing harder and really build up kind of like the line. Let me show you, because your proportion is really good, but it just doesn't really feel like a drawing, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of feels like an outline. You know what it kind of feels like? Like you just put it on the top of a window and you just try to outline the drawing. It's not really like a type of a feeling. Let me show you. I think I have Elena. Elena, how do you pronounce that in English? In Bulgarian, it's Elena. Elena? I forgot how it is. Yeah, Elena. So I'm gonna be showing for today. I'm gonna be showing a lot of Elena's work because I'm really happy with her planes. So that's a really good example of how your lines and just structure should look like, which is another reason why I wanted to kind of start the mentorship group, because I want the people kind of like to see each other's work and kind of get inspired. So Alina's work, man, just amazing lines. So if you look at yours and you look at Alina's, you can kind of sense how Alina's is just like, it's not that it's better structure or anything, it's just purely about the lines, and that kind of goes for everybody else. I think Sam asked me that, so I'm going to be talking about Sam's work later, but just kind of comparing everybody to Alina's is just it's just definitely about the lines, right? I take breaks a couple of days. I think switching the image horizontally works as well to get a fresh eye. Oh yeah, that's super important as well. If somebody's using my short keys, which you can download from YouTube for free, if you press F2, it just totally flips. So it's really, oh, she's actually here. How you doing, Alina? Yeah, it's amazing work. Okay, so that's it for Alexis, man. Just press harder, and let me see if I wrote anything else, because I think I got more stuff. Don't zoom in. Yeah, I said that. Great background. Critique planes more decisive. Oh yeah, I wanted to critique your planes really quickly about this side thing. So side profiles are kind of harder, because side profiles, is there a front profile, Angel? Okay, profiles in general kind of harder, because the triangle is going to be a lot smaller and this side thing is going to be a lot bigger, but it's not going to be as big as you drew it. So Alexis, when you're drawing that cheekbone, it's going to be right here, and see how it's a lot smaller than you drew it. So this top thing in the anatomy video, I kind of talk about it. It's going to be the top plane. So this bottom thing is going to be the cheekbone. If you look at it really closely, you can kind of sense how this right here is the fuckboy plane, and right here is the other end, and it's where it kind of ends, right? And then right here is where the triangle is. So it's kind of simple, but you just kind of have to really look at it. And oftentimes in profile views, you're not going to have this straight line from the triangle to the ear, but it's actually going to be more of a kind of an edge, right? So it's going to go down and then it's going to go up. It's not going to be a straight line for the triangle, right? So even kind of like your lines feel kind of like too analytical. It's kind of the same problem as I think Adriana. Adriana's lines are better because I think she's you know what it is? I just remembered now. Adriana's is actually like a graphic designer, so her lines feel really good, but they don't really feel like they belong to a 3D drawing. Like they're more like a graphic designer. And Alexa's lines just kind of feel really faded, and they don't really feel like the standard drawing lines, which you're gonna have, like, so it's gonna be a combination of applying what Adriana has and what kind of Alina has, right? Let me find Alina's work again, because that shit is dope as fuck. I'm gonna bring her work so many times today. You better not get fucking easily blushed. You guys are getting this way faster than I did. Oh, that's kind of true. Dude, you should remember, when I was explaining this to my first patron, Josh, who's actually here. Shout out to Josh. Like, I didn't know how to explain this. Not that I really know how to explain it now, but at least I'm better. Like in the beginning, I was completely like, you should do this circle, sort of. I don't know, maybe. So yeah, I'm getting better though. So it's gonna get better with time, man. It's just all about the practice, as always. So make sure you apply that, everybody, man. Learn from each other's work. I think that's the biggest thing, because you all have like different type of strengths. So it's all about you realizing what your weakness is and then just working on it. Oh, I actually wrote here, Alexis, be more decisive. Yeah, I think that's a big thing, because in your work, I can sense like these really faded lines are kind of like indecision. So be more decisive and be like, there's gonna be the plane right here. Like, don't be acting like a little bitch, which I know you're not. So don't do that. Hello to Johnny, man. How you doing? All right. Chris says, total patrons, holy, what did you do these 3 weeks? I've been gone. Yeah, man, it's been crazy. I think it's kind of like part of the corona and part of the anatomy video that I kind of released, man. But I'm super happy, man. Shout out to everybody. All right. Next up, we got Anna. Anna's been doing some traditional work because she doesn't have a tablet. But you know, that's dedication, baby. That's what we call dedication. So last week I actually didn't critique her work because I kind of forgot. And by the way, if I miss your work anywhere, please don't be mad. Just send it again. It's not like a personal thing. It's probably I just forgot or I didn't save it or anything. So just write me an email again. All right. So she actually drew this gorgona. Is that how you pronounce it? Gorgon. Gargon? It sounds like a weird wow mouthwash. Gargon. Garg. Okay. So I really like the design of the snakes, like both the top ones and the bottom ones, just amazing. Just kind of like the forms and everything. But the only thing I recommend to Anna is the torso. So when you're designing, I think I've kind of talked about it before, but it's really important. Joshua says Anna MVP. That's kind of true though. She is. She is an MVP, man. So when you're designing that torso, it's really important that you don't just draw like a square box. I think a lot of people, when they're drawing a figure, they just draw like a square person just sitting right in front of you. So let me show you kind of like my work. It's always important to drop one shoulder and just kind of add a subtle tilt to the figure, right? I haven't really done any tutorials on figures, but just to kind of talk about it real quick, if you look at this sketch right here, even though it kind of feels like it's in front of you, you can see how this shoulder is kind of dropped and she's kind of leaning back, right? So always be thinking, Anna says, what is an MVP? I like how she wrote like a little smiley and then she's like, wait, what is an MVP though? Is that a good thing? It is, baby. It's most valuable person. You're doing good. Subtotal magic. Man, how do even people know Chris? Shit. Oh, because Chris said, hey, Johnny. Okay. I was like, man, is Chris more famous than me? I feel bad. So when you're doing the figure, it's really important to be thinking about just the center line in general. Like if you look at this sketch, I feel like you can kind of sense how the straight line, even though the pose kind of feels straight, the center line is going to be kind of curved. So that kind of goes for this pose, and I can't really do it with liquify because it's gonna look goofy, but I'm gonna try to nonetheless. So what I'd probably do is just drop one shoulder and just introduce sort of a curve. So when she's standing, she's not just standing like this, like, you know, being depressed with life. She's more like standing like this. So actually her chest is going to be pointing more up, right? It's not front because she's gonna have that hunch in the back, you know, like doggy style and shit. That's how that's how you imagine it. Just imagine it in doggy style. So even introducing that little liquify, look at that before and after. I feel like it's super subtle, but it's definitely going to improve your figures. So just think about how the pulse is going to be, you know, with a curve in the back. It's not just straight. So that's going to be the for this pose. Other than that, it's a really beautiful design, man. I really like it. I don't even know how you do this shit from imagination, man. She crazy. Um, of course, people know me. I'm Magic, baby. Shit, I need to name myself Babby as not Babby, Magic as well. And the other work for Anna, she drew this in your style challenge, the geisha, and I really like it as well. I don't know what type of watercolor this is or pencils or something, but it's really good. So for this piece, I kind of advise you to just pay more attention to the proportions because I really like kind of the style, like the whole chunky stuff, but I feel like with some liquify you can kind of improve the cheekbones. So I really like, well, first of all, make her neck kind of smaller. Jesus, she kind of looks like an alien now. So I really like that you're using more straight lines, but don't forget those curves. As I've said before, it's really about a mixture between curves and lines. Look at that liquify before and after. So the one cheekbone was kind of raised up a little bit, and then when it comes to the eyes, I feel like this one is way too big. Like there is kind of such a thing with the eyes being too big. I know I always draw them way too big, but you can definitely make them way too big, way too big. So I think for Anna baby, when you're doing the eyes, I want you to really, and I've talked about this 100 times, but it's really the biggest secret when it comes to drawing eyes. It's just all about you thinking about the eyeball and how the eyelid is going to be wrapping around the bow. So with Anno's work, there's definitely some of that, but you don't really feel it, right? Like I think that's the biggest thing about drawing in general is for you to really feel the form. Oh shit, the corona hit me real hard. So even in my work, I don't feel like I really have that curvature, but I feel like it's just all about the form and knowing where to end that curve. So it's again, it's just pure practice, but just be more aware when you're doing the eyes. I feel like all the other features are pretty good, but the eyes definitely need some work. And also what I was gonna say, because I like what she did, like she did like a little update, like a color update with the contrast. So this is the photo of her work, and then she did some contrast. So this is really beautiful, but I want you to try doing, Anna. I actually did a YouTube video about this, so definitely watch the video. It's about editing your references. So if you watch this video on YouTube, editing your references, I kind of show you how to color edit, and I would actually invite you to try out that color editing thing in Photoshop. So if you go to filter, camera, or raw filter, there's a lot of these things that I show you in the video just to kind of improve your balance and just colors in general. Because the biggest thing when it comes to traditional is that your colors are not really going to look like they belong to the same thing because they're just going to be so messy. So what I actually do in Photoshop with all these filters and stuff, I make the colors kind of come together, right? And I do this with all my work. Let me actually show you right here. Oh, I'm so proud of this piece, by the way. Jesus fucking Christ, you have no idea how proud of this shit I am. So in this piece, I kind of did a lot of that color editing, like with the, let me actually show you, with you know, you can kind of see the before and after, how much of a glow up it kind of gave, and all of the colors became a lot more saturated. That was done all in the camera raw thing. So just definitely watch the video. I kind of show you all of the things and just all of the different filters. But this one is one of my favorites. It's called split toning. It's all about you just introducing a different type of a color into the highlights, into the shadows. So what I usually do is I make all of the shadows actually more orange and all of the highlights more, either more blue or more red, but it kind of depends. I think in this one kind of like more blue. And then I go to the tone curve and I actually bring in even more contrast. And by the way, I don't know if this is gonna look better. All right, now I'm afraid because I'm doing all this editing and then I'm gonna make it, it's gonna look horrible. Okay, it kind of looks better, sort of. I feel like it's more saturated, but yeah, it is kind of better. Okay, I feel better now. So yeah, definitely try out that editing, because the biggest thing with when it comes to traditional is that your colors are gonna be kind of, you know, messy as shit. All right, shit, this chat be going crazy, man. I really like your traditional work, Anna. It's amazing, man. People definitely see improvement in you, Anna. They keep going. Don't feel bad, Magic. I'm way behind you, bro. That's one thing about the Patreon, is that there's always people better than you and always people worse than you. Okay, so you know, it is what it is. It's just I'm just grateful. I'm, you know, like if anybody, by the way, is better than me, I'm just gonna kick you out of my Patreon. I just want you to know that. Like I want you to be good. I want to teach you shit, but I don't want you to be better. All right, you know how they say teachers always want their students to be better? Yeah, fuck that. Not with me. Not with me. But you know, you're doing good now. You're kind of at a low level, so you know, definitely improve, but not too much though. Okay. Who's next? We got Byron. Okay. So Byron, I think this is his first work. His first time sending me work. He's actually in the mentorship, so he's kind of doing the planes and stuff. And I feel like I really like, first of all, I really like the character. So in Byron's work, you can kind of sense how they're not too stiff. Like you can sense how this kind of has some good, um, it's sort of a good style. But when it comes to the planes, I feel like they're way too, um, well, first of all, messy, and they're way too confusing. So you're seeing a lot of different planes here that don't really make sense. So for Byron, I would actually advise you to really put the Sorrow head right next to your references and really pay attention to the Sorrowhead. I think you kind of did that. Yeah, I think you kind of did that in here, but you can definitely sense how this is better than this one because you didn't really use the Sorrow. So don't get confused. I kind of talk about it in the anatomy video. This clenching of the jaw right here is happening because this guy is a certified fuckboy, so he's kind of clenching his jaw. So that's where you're seeing this muscle. So don't get confused by this muscle. When it comes to the planes, just stick to the planes that you're seeing in the planes of the head. And yeah, I think what you should do, Byron, is just try to clean up your lines. If you kind of, to use another person as an example, if you, again, Alina, man, fucking Alina, shit. If you look at Alina, man, this is kind of like the thing that you're going for, right? And by the way, in the Facebook group for the mentorship, I'm gonna upload like students that I'm really happy with, and I'm gonna be like, this is the type of work that you should be shooting for, because I feel like that really helps. Like I'm gonna talk later about Max, but Max has really improved just by trying to copy Esther. So I'm really happy with that. So keep going. So that's it for Byron, man. Like I really like the style. So it's definitely not a stiffness thing. Like a lot of people have problem when it comes to their planes looking too stiff. You don't have a problem with that. You have a problem with your lines looking too messy. So definitely what I said, I don't remember who I said it. Oh, Eldon. So what I said about Eldon, just don't try to do your lines like this, like the hairy lines, but just do one straight line, right? And if you're trying to repeat it, just repeat on top of it. Don't go like this, right? If you're going on top of it and it's not really on top of it, but it's kind of like this, just control Z it, right? Like that's going to be super important for you to have clear lines. Sorry, not clear, but clean, because you can't really shade this if this is not clean, and you can't even understand it. Like you can't even understand all of the knowledge of the planes if it's not clean. So definitely use more of the planes, try to pay more attention, and when you're doing both sides of the face, I want you to really do the both sides the same. So don't do one side like the sorrow head and do the other side more complex. Just draw both of them complex, right? And this plane kind of here, the triangle is kind of wrong because it's going to be facing the nose. Let me show you real quick. Byron, yeah. So when it comes to this triangle right here, it's gonna be facing, like if you can kind of see it in the sorrow, it's gonna be, actually it's gonna be way more down, way more down. That's not grammatically correct, but whatever. So it's gonna go down and it's gonna be facing this way. It's not gonna be going up, right? Like you're gonna see this type of up thing in a profile view, but in the front view, it's really gonna be like a like a normal triangle. And by the way, this is a pretty bad reference because there's no light and it just looks really flat. So make sure that you find references with better light. So yeah, clean that shit up and then just send me more. Make sure you send me every week, man. All right. Okay, so now everyone is aspiring to get kicked out of Angel's Patreon. Yeah, that's the goal. Just get kicked out of my Patreon. Then you know you're good enough. Johnny, he has two lists of things one is hidden right now. Oh yeah, if you're not seeing your name, that's because I have two lists. That's how many people I got. Did he say something about that we get to join a Facebook page? Yeah, a Facebook group. I'm gonna be posting more about it later. It's all about just the mentorship. So I'm gonna be posting about that. All right. So who's next? We just talked about Byron. Oh, okay, my boy Chris. It's magic. It's magic. So Chris is a big fan of King and Kale. Is that how you pronounce it? King Keenan Lafferty. Okay. And that guy is amazing, all right. But I gotta admit, I'm a little jealous. Okay, I'm a little jealous that you're not copying my style, but you're copying his style. You know, but it's cool though, because it's an amazing style nonetheless. So when it comes to Chris, man, I feel like your stylization is getting better by the day. Like even like this character, I don't know if you use the a reference for the character, but it's really good. You know, and shout out to you for totally stealing the face. I love that. I love that. Like you just 101 totally stole that face. Amazing. So, Chris Boy, I feel like he told me that he has done some studies, but he still haven't sent them to me. So I can't wait to see the studies. But when it comes to this kind of like stylized work, oh, and by the way, make sure that you work on the signature. Okay, I appreciate you trying to just write it out, but that's the thing though. I appreciate everybody trying to work on their signature and not just doing the messy thing and actually writing it out. But you gotta find something that works. Right now, this looks like a message from Windows. Like you gotta find the type of kind of font that kind of works for you, okay? And don't don't just blunt it out of like on 100%. Like it looks like a weird watermark. Like when it comes to the signature, I don't know why I have such a big passion when it comes to signatures, but when it cut like you gotta make it really subtle, right? You gotta make it aesthetic and subtle. So I usually just pick a color that's part of the painting and I drop the opacity to like 50%. So maybe try out capital letters, try out another font and drop down opacity. I'm always just more fascinated by signatures. Chris says, no refs, I drew that character and then added the ref face, being copying Keenan's art style a bit too much, I think. Yeah, definitely. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think as long as you're aware of it, but you got to be doing studies though. That's super important because if you're like, if you're copying somebody's style completely, you're not doing studies, you're just gonna end up like a worse version of that person. You don't want that. Like you want to be your own version. So kind of going back to this piece, the arm is way too long. The hand is way too small, so it kind of needs to open up more. And I think the biggest thing, just generally about this arm, is just shapes, right? So when it comes to arms, just really quickly, if you look at my traditional pieces, I never draw them like actually forearms. Like the upper arm, it's more of a straight thing. But when it comes to the forearm, even on females, I like to do like a little circle right in here and then make more of a like a triangle. So when you're doing the arm, make sure that you're adding more shapes, right? So don't Nina says, don't worry, I copy Angel way too much. See, that's my girl. That's my girl. I'm proud of you, baby. See, there's nothing. Okay, there's something wrong with you copying other artists, as long actually unless I'm really bad with grammar. Unless it's me, then it's okay. You know. Shout out to Nina. Yeah. So when you're doing the forearm, make sure that you have those basic shapes like the circle and the triangle, rather because it just looks like a fucking skeleton right now. And when it comes to just the painting style, I think a big thing would just be drop shadows. I feel like in your work, you don't really have that as much. And when you're adding drop shadows, you need to really make a hard edge. So let me show you how much it's going to improve just with a couple of brush strokes. So if you add a drop shadow right here where the hair is, like right here, and then maybe like on the face, it's just completely gonna make the hair look like a 3D. I mean, you kind of did that, Chris, but you're just not using a hard edge. So it's all about just using a harder edge and really adding those deeper shadows where two objects are meeting. So kind of how you did right here with the face. And by the way, with that neck shadow, I'll definitely make it longer. Like anytime you have a shadow below the neck, I actually make it longer where the part of the chin is. So let me just show you before and after. Actually, let me do a little repaint, overpaint, not repaint. So I can kind of show you how much these deeper shadows kind of mean when it comes to the painting part. So look at that. Like it just, I feel like it kind of gives it a lot more form, you know, and it's just super simple. Like you just go over parts where there's like a separation of the planes, like for example in the hair as well, and you just add like a deeper shadow, and you're just using the eraser to kind of fade it out. So it's not about you just adding like a super dark line, because then it's gonna look out of place. So what I do is I added that line, but then with a eraser I kind of make it more pointy in the end, and then I kind of fade it out, right? So that's the biggest thing about, I'm gonna be doing that's some advanced shit, because that's kind of like rendering and stuff. I'm gonna be doing tutorials about that, but it's just all about just taking it on layers. So I don't try to do that in the beginning. Like I kind of leave it for later. Let me see if I have the, if I kind of have that in the steps. So see how in here for this piece, I go from this to this to this to this. So all four of these, they don't feel like they're out of place. I feel like a lot of people when they're doing like a color piece, it just, when you look at the different steps, something looks out of place, like either the hair or like the skin or something. And when I'm drawing, I make sure that I work on everything at the same time. Not at the same time like I paint a little bit of the hair and then I paint a little bit of the skin, but I mean at the same time, like I do level 1 hair and then I do level 1 skin and then I do level 1, you know, I don't know, feet, whatever the fuck you do, and then I just go back and I just repeat that cycle, because that way you're bringing the whole painting at the same time. So going back to the rendering, that's not something that you do in the beginning, but it's a great thing to kind of finalize your painting. So you're doing good, Chris. I just want to see more studies, because I feel like this stylized shit is a little bit too much. But you know, you're doing good. All right. Jesus, Joshua said you use the sans serif. How the fuck you even know that shit, boy? I don't even. If it's not an Arial or an Open Sans, I don't know it. Fuck you mean sans serif? What have you been fucking studying? Do they make you study that shit in university? Is that what you pay 100,000 per fucking year so you can learn about sans serif? Okay, who's the next person? Demetrius. Okay. Demetrius, he's new to the mentorship as well, but we still haven't talked. So I think he just kind of did one sort of piece just to kind of send me something. I mean, why do I keep closing the folder? So this is kind of the piece that he sent me. What I advise Demetrius is to stay away from shading. So the biggest problem in his work is that you're thinking about, oh, you're welcome, buddy. Appreciate you. The biggest problem with Demetrius is that you're thinking about the features as individual parts. So you're thinking about, I'm gonna draw the eyes now. So you can kind of see how this face doesn't even have ears, doesn't even have a top of the face. Like it doesn't have the whole structure. That's why I keep giving everybody these exercises so you can learn about the whole, again, Alina's work, so you can kind of understand the whole face. It's not about you just drawing pretty eyes. So what I advise Demetrius is just get some references and do the exercise like this. Reference, lower opacity, and then just freehand, and then draw on top of the reference. What the fuck do I have in my mouth? Okay, so yeah, I can't even critique that because it's just kind of out of place. So the shading looks bad, but then also the features look bad. So I'll just rather you do the exercise and then send me that so I can critique you on like individual things. Because right now there's so many things that's kind of wrong with it that if I give you feedback, it's not gonna be as useful. You know, like when it comes to other people, you can kind of feel like I just give them really, um, I don't know. In my head, it's just kind of like useful advice. With your work, it's kind of like too much out of place, you know. So definitely do that. Let me see what I wrote down. Don't think about shading and features, more structure and line show Alina. Yeah. So try to do something like this. This is what you're going for. Fucking Alina for president. All right. Yeah, I have to fucking close the folder again. I get this really bad habit. All right. Oh, actually, next up is Alina. So, her structure is amazing. Like, I don't even have Well, maybe a little bit. I've always find something to be that happy with. Maybe kind of make the cheekbones a little bit bigger because right now they're way too small. Like in this work, actually, let me critique this work really quickly so I can feel better about myself. So you're not too good. But when it comes to this, in the front angle, the triangle is going to be kind of here. So it's not going to be so close to the nose. I kind of talk about it in the anatomy video that if you have a circle in here, you're going to have the meaty muscles in here. So that circle is not going to touch the triangle, right? So the triangle is going to be kind of in here, and then the cheekbone is really on the side, and you don't really see that part of the jaw. I mean, sometimes you might just see a line because if you're seeing somebody straight ahead, the triangle is going to be much bigger, and then the cheekbone is going to be a lot smaller. So I think that's the biggest problem in this work. But other than that, your work is pretty good. So she actually tried out some shading as well. And by the way, this is not even traditional work. Like I first thought that this was traditional, but she actually told me that it's digital. So I don't know how she makes it look like it's traditional, but it's pretty good. So when it comes to the shading, she tried out this shading, which is pretty cool as well. So she's actually at a really good level. But I just advise you to be more confident. So I'm not sure what brush you're using. I think it's the brick, but there's way too much texture. So whatever brush you're using, if you're using the brick, make sure that the flow and the opacity are the 100%, or something about I think it's just the brush, like it just looks like a stone brush. So when you're shading, I want you to don't rely so much on texture because right now it's kind of unclear, like whether it's the texture or your work that's looking kind of good, right? So if you look at Esther, I kind of like the way that she shades. Like it's a good mixture of texture and edges and shading. So I think that's kind of like the thing that you're going for, you know? So I feel like your structure is better than Esther, but I feel like Esther's overall shading is better. So another thing that I advise you for the shading, Alina, is to use a good mixture between the eraser and the smudge tool. I still haven't talked that much about it on YouTube, but I'm gonna do a video where it's really important that when you're shading and you're putting a brush stroke, you really think about like, okay, this part is gonna be soft and this part is gonna be hard, right? So in your work, everything just kind of looks like the same edge. So I want you to really start using that eraser to really make hard edges. Like for example, on the nose, this part right here is going to be super hard. So look at the before and after of just that single shadow, right? Another example is going to be the nose, right? So this nose right here is going to be super hard. Another one is going to be the eyebrows. So you kind of have it, just try to push it even more. And when it comes to the soft edges, for example, like this right here, the drop shadow, and then when it comes to the soft edges, just blow them out more with a smudge tool. So just kind of blow them out like this. And make sure that you're kind of following more of the planes. So don't try to go. Um, that's a conversation that I had with Max, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Johnny says, does Selena have an Instagram? Okay, okay. Now I'm starting to feel jealous. I think she has. I don't know. Alina, can you give your Instagram? Oh, she's actually in the chat. Yeah, this brush is too much texture. Need to find a new brush. Okay, so I was right. I was right. Yeah, check out the brick brush. I think you're gonna be satisfied with that. Guys, if you use the iPad, you gotta check out the app Visref. It's like a mood board app. It's sick. Okay, I'm gonna check. Nina said it's too expensive, and Johnny said it's $3. Boy, you don't know this Eastern European lifestyle. I know, Nina. $3, babe? That's too much for me. What you mean? What was the name? Um, App Visref. Okay, what do you do? Visref iPad reference. Oh, okay. It's like a Quadro, but then you use like a lot of Okay, I'm gonna check that out. That sounds cool. Um, who this angel anyway? That's kind of true. So yeah, what was I saying about Alina's work? Yeah, just less texture. Think more about edges. Oh, I was gonna talk about Max. So I'm gonna talk about when I get to Max. But really quick, I wanted to mention how important it is to not try to make the shading look like the reference, but more try to shade the planes. So that's a really good example with Esther, one of my favorite works by her. This one where she realizes that this is not a rendering exercise. So it's not about you just making it like the reference. It's more about you understanding the structure. So when you're shading, try to think more about these planes that we're drawing. And by the way, really quick about these planes right here, I feel like you made the cheekbone kind of bigger. So if you make that line, you make the circle. I think that kind of goes back because you try to touch the triangle right next to the circle. So the cheekbone is going to be right here. It's going to be a lot shorter. It's going to be kind of like this. And then the triangle is going to be like this. And it's going to be touching the second circle. So there's a second circle that you kind of forgot. Oh, you actually did it. But yeah, so the first circle is going to be at the nostrils. And the second circle is going to be way up. So it's going to be right here. It's not going to be down here. I think that's the mistake that you kind of have. So yeah, definitely be more aware about that. But do more. I think we have a conversation this Sunday, so we're gonna talk about that. It's Alina.Booyah. Man, that's a nice ass fucking surname. Booyah. You sound like a fighter. And now, Alina Booyah. She's gonna kick your ass. Okay, who's next? Esther. Okay, it's actually Esther. Let me see her work. Yeah, so Esther, she's been kind of doing some females because I feel like she's been doing pretty good with the males. So Esther, I really like your shading. But a couple of things to be more aware is, especially when it comes to the women, is just the features. So I feel like your features are just they're kind of wonky. Like they're just kind of I don't really even know the word. Like they're just not grounded, right? And I think that's not only for the eyes, but just kind of the nose as well. So it kind of looks like it kind of has this amateurish effect because you're trying to make it more pretty. So when it comes to the males, I feel like your work is better because you realize that, you know, Alina, do you live in Sevastopol? What is that? Oh, that's like a city? Oh, I'm so fucking dumb. I thought that sounds so fucking apocalyptic. Apocalyptic? I don't know. Let me focus on painting, okay? I understand that. I know that. I don't know geography. So, Esther, I feel like when it comes to the males, you don't try to make them as beautiful, so your structure is a lot better. But when it comes to the females, you kind of get these bad habits of just thinking that you should make these really big eyelashes and like this really pretty nose and like big lips. So you kind of forget about the structure. So what I want you to start doing is start treating the females kind of like the male studies. And when it comes, for example, the eyebrow, don't don't try to replicate exactly what it is in here, but actually think about what you've studied when it comes to the males. So you're gonna have this shape, right? You're not just gonna have like this shape right here, which is another reason why I always say start with males and don't just do females right from the get-go because it's gonna be so confusing all these like really pretty features and all this shit. Like women are too pretty. Okay, that's the thing. They're too pretty to start with. You need some ugly ass motherfuckers to learn this shit and then you can kind of apply it. So yeah, that's the biggest critique. I can't even do like an overpaint because it's kind of like a fundamental mistake. So just try to do that. Like when it comes, for example, to the cheekbone and stuff, look at how much more expressive you drew it on the male, and with the female, it's kind of like a lot more soft. So think more about the planes. Use more hard edges. Like for example, I'm gonna be using a hard edge right here, like right here where the eyebrow is. Think more about the planes. You know, even though they're women, they you still need that structure, right? Another thing I was gonna mention and I forgot is the nose. So no matter what you see in the reference, like all this goofy shit that you're seeing this line right here, even though it looks kind of cool in the reference, it's gonna look like a mistake in your painting. So every time you see something weird that you don't really see in all the other references, you gotta be careful that if you try to paint it, it's not just gonna look like a mistake. Like right now with this, even though it looks like the reference, it just kind of looks like you don't really understand noses. Like it just looks like a rim light and like a weird mixture of a reflective light or something. So when it comes to the nose, you just have to decide, is the wing going to be brighter or is the cheek going to be brighter? I usually make the cheek, but for example, in this one, I definitely make the the wing of the nose darker, sorry, lighter, and then just keep the cheek darker, and then just make a soft edge on top and a soft one on the bottom. And look how much better it looks. Like just even zooming out, because it's a lot more clear. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to females. Like you just gotta be more clear. Like you're just painting them way too soft, and the features are like again way like you're trying to make it too pretty. So keep it more kind of grounded. All right, I hope that helps. But I kind of need to speed it up though. It's been an hour. I got so many more people. Okay, next up we got Hendrik. Hendrik, did I pronounce that right? Yeah, that's my city. I see so many familiar places. Oh my God, you live in the same city? Dude, that's so crazy. That's so crazy. I didn't even heard of that city. And I already got 2 patrons from there. Shit, we successful. Oh, actually, Esther hit a. Oh, dude, I forgot about this. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this. Okay, let me not get too hyped though. Esther, right? Would you mind if I upload a YouTube video mentioning you? I recorded all the process of my last painting, so I had the idea of uploading a time lapse sort of thing to start getting used to the stuff, and I want to credit you for all the help. Oh my God, dude, that's gonna be such an amazing idea. I'm gonna shout you out on my Instagram as well. She said also make a short version for TikTok. So I've kind of been telling all my students, if I haven't told anybody, you definitely need to start posting on social media. Okay, the earlier you start, the better. You know, I mean that's for people that want to do commissions and stuff. You don't want to do commissions, you know, it's okay. But if you want to do commissions, especially TikTok, man, it's gonna be an amazing place. And the earlier you get, the more experience you're gonna. But don't spend too much time trying to make like a really pretty video or something. Just record your process and just upload it on social media. So that's an amazing idea, Esther. I love it, especially because I'm gonna be in another person's video. Chris says, how have you been doing during the corona time? I hope you're all safe. Is that for me or for other people? I'm doing amazing, baby. I'm just staying at home. Elena says, no, I live in Canada. Oh, that was the worst fucking rejection ever. Like, like after all the hype of Anna, like, oh, is that Sevastopol? I see so many places. Oh my God. And Elena was like, no, that's Canada, baby. But it's cool though. Mikhail is from Canada too. Shit, that's kind of cool. Team North America. Johnny's from Canada too, though? Or he's in North America? I don't know. Don't ask me about this fucking shit, though. By the way, if anyone knows why I can't record my screen on my iPad, that's weird. Have you tried? If you're using Procreate, I think Procreate actually records your process, so you don't need the iPad, but you can try out that. Okay, so we got to Hendrik. So I think he's in the chat. How you doing, buddy? California, Team North America. Yeah, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. I know that much. Oregon. I don't know where that is. Sounds like a doctor though. Doctor Oregon. Okay. So when it comes to Hendrik, buddy, I think I mentioned it in an email. Oh, he actually wrote me an email. Let's read that. Hello, Angel. Thank you, and definitely will name them from now on. Here is a laying an example broken down of a guy with planes. Whilst, what is that word? That's some complicated English stuff. Whilst I understand anatomy rather well and how a skull looks, I find it a little hard doing the bow in the socket for the eyes. Usually I measure the eye by a second line in relation to the brow ridge curve. Dude, you're making this shit sound so fucking bougie but complex. The line through the eyes. You can see a faint eyeball around the eyes on the messy sketch which I tidied up. Dude, you should be a fucking writer. Since I tried, but will keep practicing that. Also noticed with noses I'm inconsistent and change the way I structure it a lot. But everyone tends to have different noses also. Might be that other thing. Okay, let's look at that. So you definitely have a problem when it comes to the eyes. He actually did a couple of females and then I told him to only do males. So this is the one that we're gonna focus on because again, when it comes to the females, it's just so much more confusing. So just stick to the males for now. Uh, yeah, there's no bright people from Kansas. Oh man, Joshua got everybody, man. Fuck California, North America, Canada, man. Fucking Kansas, buddy. Shit. Then I found a girl with the same name in my city. Wow, okay. So when it comes to the eye and the eyeball, well, first of all, your eyeball is way too big, and then the eye is way too small. So it kind of gives this really kind of a weird thing. So actually, the eye is going to be as big as the eyeball because again, the eyeball is just the corners of the eye. Like there's the ball right here. So it's not gonna be this because that's the eye bag. It's gonna be a little bit bigger, kind of like this. It kind of depends on the person. Like some people have an eye bag because it's like right below the eye, and other people have that sort of a thing because of the eyeball. So it kind of really depends on the person. But this is how big the eyeball is gonna be. So it's gonna be a lot smaller than yours, and then the eye is going to be wrapping around the bow. You know, with yours it's just like this almond shape. So what I'd recommend for Hendrik is just try to, well, first of all, try to look at more of the sorrow head. Like with your planes, they're kind of weird. Like I don't know what this plane is. So try to look more at the sorrow head. And when it comes to the lane and just generally the lines, don't do this messy, like really, like I can see it in the back. Don't think about this is two different layers. So don't try to do the lay-in as one layer and then just do these really messy lines and then you're like, I'm gonna do these clean lines. Actually just think about them and do them on the same layer. Like if you look at Alina's work, I feel like you can kind of sense how she's thinking about the lane and the planes kind of like the same thing. Like just one is like an update to the other, but she's not doing like an additional fucking layer. So that's gonna be the biggest thing. Is just try to keep them on one layer and really pay attention to the lines. Like if you look at your lines, you can see how they don't have any transfer, they don't have any build up, they don't have any shape dynamics. So I don't know what brush you're using, but you can kind of try out my ink brush or the sketch brush, whichever. But you can kind of see when I'm using the line, see how it gets from dark to light and it gets from big to small. With yours, it's just this one line, right? So definitely change your brush, do them on only one layers, and use the sorrow head. I think that's the biggest thing. And then just do more. I think he's only sent me one. So do more, and then we're gonna talk about it next week. Alexa says Ark, Kansas. Okay. He told me that it's pronounced something different, but I forgot. It's only people when people make fun of it. Just let Angel have this one. Yeah. I don't, if it was up to me, everything is North America. I don't even know. I don't even know, baby. Okay, who's next? Yana. I think she's in the chat. Yana, she's been doing some planes and stuff. So when it comes to Yana's work, I like the planes. I think you can kind of stick work on the cheekbones. Let me show you real quick. So in this particular reference, it doesn't really make sense because first of all, you made the cheekbone super big, but then you made the triangle super small, and then you kind of made it different in here. So try to pay attention to the reference and try to pay attention to your own sketch. I feel like you didn't really do that. I mean, given this is not correct, but you didn't even follow that. So the right thing that's gonna happen actually, you have this line here. So the back is only going to be this part. So it's gonna be the back, the jawbone is going to be this thing in the back. Then you have the cheekbone right here. This person kind of has a weird structure. I think he's like his whole jaw muscles and sorry, jaw bones are gonna be a lot softer. It kind of gives him this kind of pretty look, but you can sense how soft everything is. So the cheekbone is going to be a lot smaller and the triangle is going to be here. But always the triangle is going to be as big as the cheekbone, because if you look at the skull, let me show you on the skull. If you look at the skull, we're talking about this bone, right? Like this bone with the red. So when I'm talking about the planes, I'm talking about this and this, right? Like this is the plane that I'm seeing the cheekbone, and this is the triangle. And then on top, you kind of have this top plane and this other top plane. So you're gonna have them. They're gonna be as big as each other. Like you can't have one be super small and the other be super big, right? So pay attention to that. But other than that, I feel like you can kind of work on your lines as well. Same as who was the other person that I just talked about? The same as Hendrik. The same as Hendrik. Don't think about these two things as separate. Like try to leave your overlay in the planes, right? And don't use different colors. Like you can use different colors when it comes to the reference, but when it comes to your own sketch, don't be using red, because that's just gonna distract you, right? Um, Alexa's I'm dead. What? What did Alexa say? Ark, Kansas. Oh yeah. Angel, you know how to say my name, Yana. Yeah, of course. I think you're Bulgarian, right? Fuck yeah. How do people pronounce it? Yana? Or some shit? Nah, baby, it's Yana. You know what it is. Shout out my Bulgarians. So that's it for Yana lines, and I think when it comes to her shading, I think you have way too much unnecessary detail, especially like in this female. I think you're still kind of too worried about making it look like the reference, and you're too worried about all the details. So I can kind of sense how you're making your brush stroke like really small, and it looks pretty. It definitely looks pretty, but I feel like in order to kind of correct this fundamental sort of mistake about the shading, you need to go back and try to simplify it even more. So going back to like Esther or like even Max. Max is gotten so much better. See how they kind of simplify it and they just do the planes. With your work, Yana, I feel like you're focusing too much on the features. So because you're trying to make it too pretty, like you're adding all these details in the eyes and the nose, but then you don't really have any details in the cheeks, right? So the same amount that you're adding in the cheeks, I want you to be adding in the eyes, right? Like don't think about them. Like I mean, that's only in the beginning. Later, of course, you're gonna focus more on the eyes. I mean, that's a given. But in the beginning, just treat everything the same, because otherwise you get caught up in the details. You try to make things pretty, and then you just kind of build bad habits. So just to kind of critique your work really fast about the edges and stuff, I think you need to use more of the smudge tool and the eraser that I keep talking about. So I like that you actually have more hard edges, because most people have soft edges, but with you definitely need to implement some soft edges, right? Like for example, when it comes to this, like this edge right here, I'd actually make it super soft, because if you look at this work, oh shit, that was my demon voice. If you look at this work, there's gonna be a drop shadow in here and in here with the green. So if you make a hard shadow right here where the red is, what you're gonna do, yeah, right here and right here, what you're gonna do if you add a hard shadow in the red, it's just gonna look like a different plane. Like it's not gonna look like lightning, right? Lightning. I can't even pronounce that shit. So what you do actually is you're thinking about where to add a hard edge and make it harder, and when to add a soft edge and make it softer. So when it comes to like crazy light like this, I just make decisions. For example, when the light is coming from here, everything that's going to be a drop shadow in that direction is going to be a hard edge. So this thing with the green, everywhere where the green is going to be super hard, right? Like even in here. But everything that's going to be opposite to that, like that's this thing with the red, it's going to be a soft edge. And if you really want your work to kind of have that sort of a feel, you really need to kind of apply that and really be aware about it. So that's the biggest thing. Like even even doing like 2 brush strokes, look at how much better that cheek feels. So definitely use bigger brush strokes. Think about this as like the whole thing. Don't think about it the features like you're thinking too much about the features right now, and just try to shade the planes, kind of like what you have Esther, just simplifying stuff and thinking more about bigger planes and bigger brushstrokes. Okay, I hope that helps. We're gonna be talking, I think, 2 weeks from now, so it's cool. Alexis says at least Angel is pretty. Yeah, man. Thank God for that shit. Thank God, because I'm blown in here, so I can't afford to be ugly. That's what it is. That's really helpful. Oh, I'm glad, baby, man. I'm so happy when people say that's helpful. I'm glad. Just do more, and send it to me. All right, next up we got my boy Johnny, if he's still in the chat. So Johnny, man, I can sense a lot of improvement in Johnny. He actually wrote me an email. Let's read the email really quick. What's up? That's what I did yesterday. I was trying to emulate this kind of a style, which I don't really do, but it kind of looks cool. Oh yeah, he's talking about Elijah Kuchinov. Anyway, let me know what you think about the sketch. I was able to get your sketch brush to work fine on the Procreate, so that's what I used. Yeah, so the biggest problem with Johnny was that his work, like his lines, was just way too hard. It didn't really have any build up. So I can definitely sense some improvement now. Like I really like these, but going from here to here, it still kind of feels like you're losing a lot of the structure. So again, to kind of pull out Alina's work, see Johnny, what I'm talking about? Like this is the type of lines that I'm looking for. I mean, given when you're trying to go for shading, you're actually gonna drop the opacity of the planes. But see how, for example, when you're doing the eye, see how simple your eye is? And if you look at Lena's, look at how much more structure it has. Like it's just purely the lines, right? It's just knowing where to add a hard edge. So it's not even something that is kind of, maybe I can teach myself how to teach this, but right now I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's just purely about repeating your lines and knowing where to push harder and where, you know, how to make it kind of prettier and just kind of feel it more like a drawing. So that's gonna be the biggest thing for your work. And then he kind of did this sort of really stylized work from Kushinoff Ilaya. And I kind of like this style, but again, it's way too complicated because if you think about it, he literally drew the nose as just 2 lines. So when you don't really understand the nose and you try to do it in 2 lines, it's not gonna look good. Like why this looks good, and it's weird because Johnny's work actually looks pretty decent, and it feels like there's such a small difference like in these two works, but it's actually a huge difference. That's what I always say about kind of beginners and intermediates. Like you think that you're gonna get to this level just by doing this type of stuff, and that's not even for Johnny because I think he knows that, but I think that's kind of like for beginners in general. Like it might seem like there's just such a small difference, but that's like literally years of work to get to this level, right? So that's why I feel like you need to learn how to build up a line and rely on that rather than just doing it with a completely ink style. So what I recommend, Johnny, man, keep doing this stuff. Don't use red, by the way. You can kind of use red on top of the reference, but it doesn't really make sense when you're doing it on top of the planes, right? So try to do this. Be more aware. I'm gonna post on the Facebook group. I'm gonna post Alina's work so you can kind of look at the lines and kind of use that as a reference. So, and another thing is going to be the hair. Like when it comes to the hair, Johnny, I want you to really treat it as if you're treating the face. So think more about the planes. Don't just draw these curves. Let me actually show you what you need to be doing. So when it comes to this hair, it's just gonna take a long time for you to learn this, but it's better to just start now. Because right now you're just simplifying the hair with just a couple of curves. Like you're just doing like curves on top of curves. But instead, you should be thinking about like different planes, right? So you have this top thing, like this top thing is going to be a different plane than the side thing. So it's kind of weird to explain it. I'm gonna do a tutorial on YouTube, but just try to do it, and then I'm gonna tell you what you're doing wrong. You know, you kind of did it in here, like see how this thing is separate than the other, but you have to do that a lot more. So for example, I'd simplify this. Use more straight lines. That's gonna be a useful thing. Just use more straight lines when it comes to the hair, because right now you just have these curves and it kind of feels like a wig because it kind of is lacking that structure. All right. Joshua says, I think the difference is use of core shadows. I think adding some core shadows would really help the style of drawing. Yes, that's a great analogy. That's a great example. It's just core shadows. Like with Alina, she knows exactly where to put these core shadows. But with people like Johnny, I don't remember who, but who have I said this to? Alexis. Um, it just feels like your lines are way too analytical. So try to think about like these core shadows and really try to press harder in places, right? Yeah, we talked about straight lines. Yeah, straight lines and pressing hard. That sounds so dirty. All right. Next up we got Joshua, not Joshua Cruz though, but Joshua Berries. Joshua Berries. I always forget. So Berrios. Oh shit, yeah, the Cheerios and the berries. I always forget it. So I actually forgot last time to critique his colored work. So he actually wrote me an email. I don't know if is it here? Oh yeah, it's here. Hey Angel, thanks for the critiques, really helping. Oh, you're welcome, buddy. I was wondering what you thought about the color one I sent in. I know I just redid what you did, but I wanted to know how I did with the planes. If they're blocking, all right. I will stick to painting in grayscale. For now, I'm not ready for color. I was just curious. Also, any idea when you'll be opening for your mentorship? Oh yeah, we'll open up and you feel he got in and it's full again. So I appreciate you. So when it comes to this artwork and kind of like my painting, I feel like this is way too stylized. So it's kind of hard to tell if you really got the planes. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? Don't drop your opinion of me, but I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing when I was doing the back. Joshua Cruz said my replacement. Oh, don't lie to yourself, buddy. Nobody can ever replace you, okay? I'm still keeping you in my heart, okay? You're in a special place, and my dick. So, to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing when I was drawing the back. Like I mean I know some back anatomy, but it wasn't really like I was following anything. So when you try to copy my planes, you're really just copying some random fucking strokes that I just thought looked cool. So that's the biggest thing why you should use references and anatomy rather than like you need to use other people's work for the edges and the brush strokes, not really the structure, right? So definitely more references, but it's a cool work though. You know, even the references are kind of cool. Not the references, but the colors. The colors are kind of cool. Yeah, you just need more. Um, you just need more practice shading and edges, and other than that, you're gonna be good. I'm in Texas, so only one state away. Oh shit, Arkansas is close to Texas now. Okay, we need to meet up, bro. Yeah, it's gonna be Joshua Organization, joshua.org. So for Joshua Berries, your shading is I still feel like you're using a different brush. So the main thing for Joshua would be to start using like a regular, just stick to one brush. You know, I feel like right now you're using way too many brushes and you're going for really this kind of painterly effect. So stay away from the painterly effect and just keep it structural. Another thing would be to not add any sort of shading to the background. So when we're doing this exercise with the shading, we're really trying to keep the background simple so we can focus on the face. And when it comes to the shadows, the biggest thing that I've kind of learned recently through teaching people, and I kind of learned it from Max, is that Max, like, look at how much improvement Max has had only in 2 weeks. So the biggest thing in Max, for example, was that he was really trying to replicate the reference. So his shadows were trying to look like the reference. His highlights, like everything was Like he was trying to make it look like the reference. And I kind of showed him as the work where she wasn't really worried about making it look like the reference. She was just worried about the structure. And I feel like he made a great amount of progress. So I'd give the same advice to Joshua is just try to not to go as dark, because right now the more contrast you have, the more it's just gonna look messy. So don't go for contrast. Just go for the structure and just go for the learning of the planes. So focus on that. I feel like right now you're just so worried about it making it look like the reference that you completely forget about the planes and shit. Like you're just worried about aesthetics. Like you can't be worried about aesthetics in this kind of level. Nina says, I don't know why you chose this pose, Angel. I was looking like the whole day to find a reference with the back. Oh, yeah. I didn't really choose it. It was kind of like the reference. So I just chose it because of oh yeah. I just kind of chose it because of the snakes. Like this is the reference I chose. So I was kind of like, hey, if I, like the whole thing came from me drawing snakes. So I was like, if I want this hair with snakes, I gotta draw the fucking back. Nina, that's why I drew a Gorgon from the front. Yeah, it was actually horrible, and I thought about the fact that very few people were gonna draw the back, but that's also why I wanted to add the tattoo, because I realized, like, you know what? If I add a tattoo, you're not really gonna recognize the fact that I don't know how to draw a fucking back, because there's gonna be so much detail of the tattoo. You're gonna be like, hey, that's a pretty good tattoo, and you're totally gonna not even look at the back. So yeah, that's a good trick. Just use more fucking tattoos. Okay, who's next? Yeah, so definitely Joshua, man, focus on these things when, which I said about the shading. Just, right now, it's just way too messy. All right, next up, we got Marcus. Marcus, he just did one study. I'm glad he's kind of keeping to the structure. So for Marcus, I'm so bad with the names, I swear. So for Marcus, the biggest thing right now would be to start adding hair. So as I said before, you can afford to not add hair only when you're doing the lay-in. Once you start doing the planes, it's really important for you to add the hair, because now you're thinking about the whole form of the face. You're no longer thinking only about proportions, right? So start adding hair, especially if you're doing shading. And another thing when you're doing shading is to really think about local colors. So when you kind of get to shading, you need to like shade the iris, you need to shade like the hair, you need to kind of shade the lips, like the holes of the nose, because this shit is really gonna make, like, it's gonna kind of change your painting, right? So when you don't have hair, you don't shade the irises, you're not gonna, it's just not gonna look as a shading exercise. It's just gonna look way too analytical. So you can't really get the most out of the shading. Dude, that's the worst hair I've ever fucking drawn. But you get the point though. You gotta draw it. I can't just draw it out of fucking nowhere. Or can I? I don't know. So that's gonna be the biggest thing for Joshua. Just add all these things. And I really like your planes. Your planes are kind of solid. I think the biggest thing would be to think about this thing that's kind of like overall shading. So if you look at this portrait, and by the way, I really like this reference because it's kind of like a really great mixture of hard edges and soft edges, and you can sense the structure. It's really good. So if you're thinking about shading something, definitely shade this. So if you look at this reference, what you're gonna notice is that right here in the middle, the light is going to be a lot stronger than anywhere else. So what's going to happen is right here where the red is, it's going to be lighter. And as it's getting away from the red, like where the green is, it's going to get darker and darker. And I always say focus on the planes, and you need to do that. But also make sure that, for example, you cannot have this plane right here with the red be as light as the forehead. Because if you look at the reference, this is the plane that I'm talking about, and this is the other one. So it's literally like night and day, and yours are kind of similar. And I know I said don't make it look like the reference, but what you have to do is you have to think about relations. So it's about does this plane related to this plane? Like if this is 20%, you can't just make this 20. You know, it's not bad if this is not as light as the reference, but you know, again, it's about relationship. So just think about that, and when you're shading, use bigger brushes and definitely try to capture the whole I don't know, the whole feel of the reference, because right now it doesn't really look like the type of shading that you're seeing in the reference. You know, try to look more to the planes and think about transitions as well. So if you look at Esther, for example, you can see how even though she's thinking about the planes individually, it still feels like more of a whole portrait. Like with yours, it just feels like parts of a portrait. You know what I'm saying? So think more about the bigger picture. I hope that makes sense. And just do more, man. This shit gonna take some time. So definitely do more. What are you guys saying in the chat? Okay, I did use a different brush for each drawing, trying to find one to stick, but I think I'll go back to the brick. Yeah, I really like the brick. I don't know. I haven't really found anyone anyone else. Yeah, once Corona blows over, I'm just glad I can work from home. You mean for the meetup? Shit, I need to be there. My name isn't even Joshua, but I need to be. I didn't even notice there were two Joshuas. I've been so confused this whole time. I like how you spelled whole without a W. That sounds like some shit that I'll do. My first try of shading. Also didn't do light. Still struggling a lot with the brush. Oh, really though? Oh, that's really good. Well, actually, I'm sorry. That's really good for a first try, man. I take my words back. Yeah, definitely don't do any light though. I mean, this one with Esther, she still didn't do any light. So it's not about the light. But, you know, great work. If this is your first time, just make sure you do more. That's the biggest thing. Um, Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. Okay, who's next though? Mateos. Mateos, is that how you pronounce it? Mateos? Mateos. So he's been doing the laying. And by the way, I like that you save the references and everything, but keep it in like separate files. So just one file for one reference. And then when you're drawing on top of the reference, make sure you lower the opacity. Like with your work, it's just on top of the reference. So for Mateo's amazing shapes, I actually really like the shapes. I feel like more people should be using these type of shapes. Like they're really clean. They're really kind of like not stylized but stylish. Like they're just good design. But I think what's missing in your work is just kind of like the whole feel of the portrait. So even though this is great design, that's what it looks like. Just a bunch of uh, fucking circles and lines. Like it doesn't really feel like a face. And I think the biggest problem with that is uh, it's kind of hard to say. I think you're kind of missing some planes, so definitely add that plane right here. Definitely add like the side, which is gonna be like this, and just I think more about the whole face. So start thinking more about it as a drawing. I think this is your best drawing yet, because these ones on the bottom, I'm not even talking about this one. But these two ones, they feel like, you know, it's just a circle and a line. Like it's not really a head. You know what I'm saying? So think more about like the box that you kind of did. I really like this box. You fucking nailed it. So by the way, what is this circle right here? Are you trying to do the circle for the for the forehead? The circle for the forehead is going to be around the whole forehead. It's not gonna be like a weird alien thing. That looks like a weird TV thing. So yeah, try to implement more planes and think about the whole head. Don't think about. I feel like you're thinking about the different lines individually. Like you got to be thinking the whole thing. And I don't know. I think it's just practice. You know, try adding some planes. You know, maybe that will kind of help, because right now it's just too individual. So again, this is kind of like what you're shooting for, right? Chris says, speaking of meetups, what happens to the convention you were totally invited? I wish I invented it. They actually postponed it. It's in Switzerland. I was. Hey, aren't you from Switzerland? Oh shit, I think you are. Shit, yeah. So it was in May, and I bought my ticket, and I think exactly like a week after I bought my ticket, the corona shit happened. And I'm such a bitch that I immediately wrote them. I was like, hey, there's this thing, coronavirus. I don't know if you've heard, but like, what are we gonna do? And they were like, we got everything under control. You know, it's still happening. Fuck the coronavirus. And literally, like, after a few days, they were like, actually, we're gonna postpone it until November. So it's now happening in November, but I'm not really sure if I want to go to November though. I mean, it's way too cold. Like, I want to travel during fucking May. Like it's summertime. It's fun. It's vlog time. I don't want to travel fucking winter, be cold as fuck, just holding the camera like, hi guys, like fuck that. But I'm gonna see though. I still haven't got my money though. Mateo says, I don't know. You put those circles in the video, so I did it. Yeah. No. I mean, you're doing good. Just when you're doing, that sounded so funny. You're just putting those circles in the video. Like it's an old video of me just doing random circles. Yeah, you're doing good, buddy. When you're thinking about that forehead circle, it's gonna be wrapping around the whole forehead. So that's kind of showing the front plane. So it's not just a random circle. Actually, I think that's what it is. Like right now, because you don't really have a lot of practice, you're just thinking about this stuff. Like I just saw Angel do this in the video. So think more about them as part of the face. Like what you're drawing right here is a face, but you're just drawing these things to find the proportions, right? It's not just individual lines. So just do more, man. It's completely in the practice, and then just start doing the on top of this. Try doing some planes, so you completely fuck it up. And I got some advice to give you. Okay. Um, May is the best month of the year. Yeah, maybe June. Wow, you remember this? I'm from Switzerland, so cute. Pfft, yeah, maybe. From tomorrow in my country, you can't leave the house. Wow, really though? That's kind of crazy. You can still leave in mine. But I don't really do it though. Yes, but actually no. I'm from Sweden, and now I'm really offended. Are you really though? Now I'm really confused, and I don't even know the difference between Sweden and Switzerland. So the fucking joke is on you, buddy. Even if you told me I'm from Sweden, I'm like I don't even know the difference. I just that's how I travel, by the way. I just go to the airport. I just give my ticket. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm like, bitch, just fucking whatever you fly me to. If you fly me to fucking Egypt, you tell me this shit is Sweden. I'm gonna be like, hey, where the convention at? Someone so alive infected with the coronavirus? Nah. who, who would want to see that? If you just seen somebody infected, aren't you gonna get your infected yourself? I mean, I guess no, if you see them from afar. But that's kind of funny. It's like, hey, did you see that zombie? Have anybody gotten bitten by a zombie? Hopefully no. I'm from Michigan. We can't leave the house either until April 13th. Oh, really though? Wow, that's kind of crazy. What about food? You're gonna suck your own dick? Shit. The coronavirus is like knowing someone who won the lotto. Yeah, but you don't get anything though. I mean, besides pneumonia. It's like the coronavirus is exactly like like knowing somebody who won the lotto, and you also get pneumonia. Actually, yeah, that's pretty much it. That should be a description. Yeah, I was exposed to someone last week. Oh shit! I hope you're not. I hope you're not sick though. All right, let's get back to the critiques. Though. I'm sorry, man. I'm having too much fun. Okay, too much fucking fun. Let's get back to critiquing because we got so many more people. Holy shit, it's been an hour and a half. All right. I'm a focus. I'm a focus, baby. Next up, we got actually Max. Yeah, let's talk about Max, man. As I said, he's made a great improvement. Just kind of mentioning these things that I talked about with Yana. So it's all about you just bringing it down and thinking about the place and the structure. So I really like that. Again, I'm gonna show you his improvement. Just crazy amount of improvement. So the biggest thing about Max, I don't know if you're here, but it's really important when you're doing so much time for art, says Yana. Okay. Yeah, starting tomorrow can't leave except for groceries. Think it ends for the 9th. Man, I hope we're going crazy. Shit. God damn. Thank God I got a drawing because I gonna go crazy if I didn't have anything to do. So for Max, man, it's really important when you're doing the sketch and the line art to be using black lines. So I don't know what's happening right now, but your lines kind of look gray. And that's a really bad thing because when you add the shading, you're gonna see those lines actually being lighter than the shading. So that's a really bad thing because you're losing all of the core shadows that are gonna come from the lines. So what you need to do is, and what I do is when you have this line work, right? You're using the color black, and then when you're done with the line work, just drop the opacity, right? Don't make it lighter, just drop the opacity. So that way, when you're shading on the bottom, the lines are still kind of sitting on top, black as fuck, right? So it's really a great amount of improvement has been made. That sounds funny. But what you need to focus on is just, I think it's just purely edges and adding a second level of shadows. He actually had a question about that, so let's read the question. Oh, he actually had two emails. Shit, that's a whole lot of reading. Okay, let's get it. Usually when I'm close to finish the study, I notice that my shadows should be much darker and lights brighter. Yeah, I kind of talked about that. Don't worry about that. Just worry about the planes. I feel like it's gonna be more effective to repaint everything better than to start a new study. Nah. It's just all about you just getting the maximum out of this study and then just starting a new one. In the beginning, it's a lot more about quantity rather than quality. How much time should we spend on shading? Well, as much as it takes. Should we take our time and try to render everything and try to finish studies faster and focus more on the values to be average, correct, and have correct edges? Well, I think there's a balance. Like, I think what you're doing right now is pretty good. I would just advise Max to kind of add like an additional layer of shadows. So from here, what I'll do is I'll just grab another darker value, like not another darker value, but just a darker value. And I'll just go in and I'll start adding all of those core edges. Not core edges, but core shadows. So even in the hair, just by doing like a couple of brush strokes, you can sense how much structure it has, right? And it's gonna look even better if your lines are actually black because right now they're gray. So it's all about you just pushing it to the next step. So this is the type of thing that you want that you want in your work, right? Is that your work looks good in every single stage, right? Like it looks good like a sketch, basic light, basic shadows. It still looks good. Basic sort of like adding like further shadows and rendering, it still looks good. So from now, just keep pushing it. Like keep adding more shadows, keep adding like more transitions. And the more you do that, the more you understand about edges, the more you understand about values. But again, don't try to go completely black from the get-go. Like don't go in with like the blackest color and be like, I'm drawing the hair, because when you're lacking that build up, your work just kind of looks goofy. Again, to kind of show you my process for this piece, if you look at it, you can kind of sense how like even in this stage, it kind of looks finished. Like I still haven't even added any shadows, but it's still kind of, it looks fine. It's not like I started with like the blackest value. So in every stage, I just push it further. Like I push the shadows, I push the lights, I push the shadows, I push the lights. So that's kind of like rendering in general. It's just pushing yourself to realize what like the next thing that you should be doing is. And don't try to go too much out of your level. Like if your level right now with Max is that, just add another level of shadows. If you don't really know what you're supposed to be doing, just start a new study. Because when you spend, and that's the biggest problem with beginners, is that they spend like 20 hours rendering some shit and you're not really getting anything out of it. Like it's much better just to know your level, be aware of it. Maybe I can kind of help you with that in the critiques, and then just focus on that, and then try to push it just a little bit. He actually got another email. Did I read that? Right now, each study takes me around 1 to 1 day and a half. But when I finish it, I see a lot of little details that I want to fix. But it seems like it will be an ineffective way to improve. No, it's actually a really good way to improve, man. Like you just give it your best. Like this is your best amount. Like that's how much you can push it right now. If you can push it more, push it, but don't be like, don't that's the thing, don't push it for the sake of pushing it. Like you need to know what you're pushing, right? And if you don't, just learn more about, like, be more aware of edges, be more aware of values, but don't just do random. That's the thing, like that's the thing that I'm kind of trying to teach you in this mentorship the most is be aware of your level. Like don't be like adding detail just for the sake of it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but that's super important, man. I'll try to record my process the next call if my computer will be able to. Oh, I think that, yeah, I think that was last week. He said, forgot to ask a question. When we do shadows, why should we separate them into two layers? Yeah, so I kind of answered that. It's all about the buildup. So you can't get a really dark shadow unless you start with a lighter value and then you get the darker shadow with all the planes. You know, it's all about knowing which part of the steps those shadows are. So I hope that helps. You're doing really good. Just keep doing. Wait, that's. Oh, he actually did some structure. Yeah. So this one, let me critique it real fast because the planes are kind of bad. But this one is pretty good. So keep doing it like this. Just push, like add another shadow layer to this and try to go darker, and then we can kind of see where your problems with that is. And then when it comes to this, I feel like that's a pretty complicated reference because you don't really see much of it because of the light. But the cheekbone is going to be kind of here, and the triangle is going to be kind of here. So it's not as low as you drew it, and it's not as big as you drew it. Like if you pay attention, pretty much all of the cheekbones are going to be the same size. Like they're going to be somewhere around the size of the eye. So if your cheekbone starts getting super fucking big, you have to ask yourself like where the problem is. And then you have this plane, you have this plane, you have this plane. Dude, I've thought this shit so much that I feel like I've gotten better. Because in the beginning I was like, I'm gonna teach you about the cheekbone, but I'm not really sure where it is. So I'm just gonna try to find it somewhere. Yeah. So just do that, man. Just keep practicing more. All right, who's next? Mikhail. Okay, my boy Mikhail, he wrote an email. Here's my work for week 40. I'm struggling with the hair. I had to redo it 3 times. I'm slowly getting better. That's my boy. Is there a way to change the brush size quickly by a few pixels? Yes. So if you're using my shortcuts, and if you're not, I don't see why not. But if you're using my shortcuts, I actually put it on A and F. So if you press F, it's gonna become like, I don't know, 20 or something pixels bigger. So it's really useful. I constantly just spam A and F. Shout out to all my League of Legends players. They know why A and F, but actually no, you don't really use A in League of Legends. But whatever, it's on the left, right? So if you have the standard keyboard shortcuts, it's gonna be on the two brackets right here on the right side of the keyboard. So I just put them on the left. But if you want to do it yourself, you just go to keyboard shortcuts, and then you go to shortcuts, and I don't know exactly where it is, but you just have to find, just download my keyboard shortcuts. All right, that's gonna be much easier. But yeah. Um, Here's an, oh, he said I do it with the Alt and side button on a pen, but it's not accurate. Yeah, that's a great trick as well. Like if you press Alt and you press the button that is like a right click, it's actually gonna make it bigger or smaller. But that's, I use that if I want to make it super big, because otherwise I just have to press F for like a really long time. But if you want to make it like just a bit bigger, just use F. Here's another color study of fruits. Same fruit with the egg, but I ate all the bananas. Oh man, you're gonna have a hard time doing this fucking coronavirus. You don't even know fucking. You don't even have fruits anymore. So he did another color study of a still life. All I remember is you saying, see here, I'll show you." You see, and me nodding confused. Yeah, I've gotten kind of better, but I still do that a lot though. I still do a lot of see. I'm a Spanish guy. So what I'd advise for Mikael is to try out another fruit. So you're doing pretty good with this, but I want to see you do something crazy, like maybe like a passion fruit or something, maybe an orange. So you're doing pretty good with the colors. I think you're gonna be ready for a color study soon. But again, I want to see you do something different. So definitely change up the colors. Get up like, I don't know, maybe try out like something different than a fruit. And when you're doing, for example, the egg, I want you to kind of treat it more like the apple. So it feels kind of super flat. So just draw a lot more of the shadow on the bottom and try to make it more interesting. Like, see how you made the apple more interesting? Like, that's really beautiful. Just try to do that the same thing with the egg, because it's kind of easier to do it with the apple because you have different planes. But with the egg, it's gonna be super hard, you know. But that's a really useful skill to have when it gets to portraits, because you're gonna know exactly which planes, um, like you're gonna have the different planes and you're gonna render them in a different way. And then when it comes to this reflective light, I'm really happy that you did that. So if anybody's wondering what this is, if anybody even noticed it, but this, oh my God, look at that brush. My ADD is kicking in. So that brush stroke right here is going to be the light that's coming in from the egg, and it's going to be reflecting back to the apple. So I'm really happy that you added that. But I think it just work even more in your edges. It's definitely better than the last one, but try to pay more attention to where there's going to be a soft edge and a hard edge, and try to really exaggerate that. Like in the apple right now, if you look at the apple, pretty much this whole area just has this one single edge. So maybe try like on one side adding a soft edge, on the other one like a hard edge. Like even in here, like look at how much more kind of aesthetic it looks if I just make it kind of soft in the middle. Like just it adds like oh my God, look at that. Shit. Like it just adds like a difference, right? So in here it's a lot of messy, hard brush strokes. Why do I have so much color dynamics? And when you look at it here, it's super soft, and then in here, it's like a lot harder. So it's all about just making different type of brush strokes. That apple looks like a snack. Man, I'm so hungry. I'm gonna eat that egg. Motherfucker, the apple. So I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to the apples. And I kind of like the female, but I want you to do another male because I really want to see you do, like, I'm really happy with this work. So do a couple of more males because I want to see how you're going to render this kind of plane. But I think that's it, man. You're doing pretty good. All right, next up we got Nicholas. He has a mail. Oh shit, it's a pretty long email. Oh, it's not a pretty long. Hello again. I don't want to distract you, but I have one question that is frustrating me now. Today I wanted to draw your character in my style. The draw this in your style, but I understand that my stylization sucks. I don't like it at all. Because I was thinking when I want to learn to draw realistic faces, I will draw stylization immediately from imagination. Yeah, I wish that's how it works. Like, oh, I can draw realistic faces. Boom, I can draw some fucking stylized imitations. Paintings from imagination. Yeah, that's not how it works. I think I should study other artists' works to learn it. Or is it better to not think about it right now and continue master black and white studies? I think that's his work though, because I haven't really showed it. I think that's the last part. Like you shouldn't really think about it right now. So Nicholas, he's pretty good, man. Like I can sense that you have pretty good form when it comes to the portrait, but I feel like you definitely need to improve your brush strokes. So your edges and kind of like rendering style in general is kind of whack, you know? So you're pretty good when it comes to females because you're kind of used to doing a lot of soft edges. But when it comes to the males, you can kind of sense that you're lacking some of that plain knowledge. So Chris says you'd be chucking on that egg like a real e-girl. Oh man, you don't even know. You don't even know. I'll be having spit all over my mouth. I'm getting horny now. So it's really important to just practice that rendering before you kind of get into the stylization, because right now you're trying to make like a really stylized paintings, and you can see how in the eye like you still kind of have this amateurish sort of feel. So in order to get to like let's say Rose Draws for example, or even like this guy, Eric Anthony, like they understand how to make like a proper brushstroke. And you can learn that in color, you can kind of learn it while doing stylized studies, but it's just gonna take more time. So what I'd advise you to do is just keep it separate. So when you're doing black and white studies, just do a realistic portrait. I mean, this is pretty good. Just try to think more about the planes. Like right now, everything is a little bit too soft. And by the way, not to even go hard on you because I feel like that's incredibly good. I mean, you know, kind of like comparing it to other students, I mean, it's even better. But I don't feel like you're still ready for the stylization. So it's nothing wrong with you doing some stylized studies from other artists, but keep it separate than these black and white studies. You know, that's going to be the biggest thing. And think more about planes, as I said, and think more about edges. Don't think about not structure, but don't think about like texture, like all these little freckles and shit. Think more about like just the edges, you know, and try to remove some of your lines. I think your lines are just you're kind of leaving them there for the stylization, but I think they're kind of hurting your painting because they're not allowing it to look as realistic as possible. So try to go more realistic for now. That's gonna be a definite advice. You know, definitely practice more males though, because you're better with females than males. So I hope that helps. Just do more. That's gonna be the biggest thing. All right, who's next? Nina. Oh, actually, I wrote down shadows too dark. Yeah, I think that's another thing. Like your shadows are way too dark, so they kind of look flat. Like kind of going back to what I said earlier, is that if you kind of draw these really dark shadows from the get go, they're gonna end up looking flat because you didn't really build them up. So spend more time building them slowly rather than just going with this really dark kind of value. All right. Next up, we got Nina, my baby girl Nina. She wrote an email as well. Happy to be able to send you some results of my senseless effort. I really struggle with my style. I have that issue that when I like something, I get obsessed and everything else is just garbage. Everything I come up with just seems stupid and worthless. My Instagram account is a mess, and my goal is to make it cohesive. Oh, that's too complicated. As my future art style. Yeah, I just wanted to mention really quick, man. This shit is never gonna go away. Like you're always gonna feel like that. Like you're always gonna feel like whatever you create is stupid and worthless. I feel like that with my YouTube. I feel like that even with my live streams. Like it always feels way too messy. Like every single live stream, I always feel like, man, I should have talked about this. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? But I think that's just part of the process. Like you just gotta embrace it and be like, fuck it. Like I'm just here to get better, you know. And it's the same with art. So rather than you just being like I'm too obsessed to something, just be obsessed with the learning. I think that's a big thing rather than being obsessed with the work. And I mean I give you that advice, but I totally struggle with it myself. Like I feel like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my videos, but I feel like that kind of holds me back because you should be worried about getting better, not worried about creating the amazing, you know, art. And I feel like I've gotten better with that when it comes to the art, but I still struggle when it comes to the YouTube. So yeah, man, it's just all about you just putting in the work. I hope that fucking helps. I don't know where I'm going. It feels like I'm stuck, but hopefully I'll find the right path. Yeah, I guess I don't have a proper question, just saying, you know, some of the things I did lately. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, man. Like you're trying to do these really stylized pieces, like and I'm happy you copy me. Like that's a huge compliment. But I feel like, you know, you're coming up with these really complicated kind of illustrations. Like that looks kind of like something that Rose Draws would draw. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, it feels like really stylized and cool. But I think the biggest problem is that your level is of skill is not really there and you're trying to execute something that's like way above your level, you know. And I feel the same way with my YouTube. So every time you do that, you're gonna have a lot of anxiety and a lot of feelings like I'm worthless because your execution is not your expectation. So I think the biggest thing would be to kind of lower your expectations and actually try to do something more simplified, like a study. And that was the whole rant was just me convincing you that you should do more studies. But you're doing really good with your stylized work, so keep doing that. But I think in the meantime, just add some more like black and white studies, like things that you can actually sense that you're progressing. Because when you're doing these really stylized pieces, these really complicated pieces, you can't really measure your progress. So it kind of feels, I think people in a mentorship would kind of like agree with the fact that even though studies kind of suck, they kind of give you this really nice feeling of like you're doing the right thing. So you keep getting better and you're like, oh, I'm on the right path. Because when you're doing these really like stylized paintings, you're like, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I kind of felt like that way as well. And I think that's kind of gone away because I've just done so many. But it's all about just pushing it a little bit further every time rather than going to the top level. She says, I will try to make studies and send you, but it isn't fun. Well, yeah, baby, but you know, what do you want? Fun and anxiety or like just learning and shit? That's why I say just keep it 50-50. That's why I tell to people that, want to have fun. Just there's nothing wrong with you doing these pieces, but just do some studies as well so you know that you're following like a schedule or something. Because when you're doing random pieces, it just feels like you're not really doing that much. Chris says, okay, I have to go now. My brother won't let me use his Wi-Fi to download porn. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next stream. It was fun seeing new faces. Stay safe. Oh, I appreciate you, Chris. See you next time, baby. All right, we got only a couple more, and then the stream is gonna be done. Oh shit, it's been 2 hours. Okay. Next up, oh shit, I didn't even critique your work. Well, I guess I did. Just I don't know. It just feels way too stylized for me to even critique it. It just kind of feels flat. That's the biggest thing. If you look at like Rose draws in your work, again, it feels like there's a small difference, but I feel like it's actually like a huge difference because he understands a lot more of those forms. And the best way to understand them is just doing it in black and white rather than going in with the color. I hope that helps. Yeah, I totally get it. Thanks for your advice. I'll watch it again because my toddler is killing me now. Oh, you got a toddler? That's so cute. Okay, no problem. Okay, next up we got Kalini, my boy Kalini. He's been doing some line art. Wait, let me open up the folder. So Kalini has been kind of getting better. Where he working? Yeah, he's been kind of getting better, but it still kind of feels way too messy. So for Kalini, I want you to really look. Well, first of all, I'm gonna send you the email, or I don't know where I'm gonna post it, but join the Facebook group and I'm gonna post Alina's work. So I want you to start looking at Alina's work and really try to replicate it, right? So when you're doing it, like if you look at the nose, see how much unnecessary detail there is in the nose, right? It just feels way too messy, and it just feels like you're like there's nothing wrong with going over your lines, but you need to know what you're going for. Like right now, it just feels like you're trying to correct it over and over, and you don't really get the result. You just end up with this really messy sketch. So your lines here definitely gotten better. I feel like it's the brushwork. Just keep doing that. But I also want you to wait. Where did it go? Yeah. So keep doing that. But I also, dude, I fucking lost it again. Oh, it's not. Oh yeah. And by the way, please name your. That's a problem. Like they weren't even named Kalini. They were named reference pictures, whatever. Just name them Kalini. Oh shit, they should go back. Okay. Another thing would be to kind of think about. Oh, these are actually like 5 minute sketches though. Oh shit, I didn't even see that. I thought that was like a 30-minute sketch. Okay, that's actually pretty good for a 10-minute sketch though. I'm sorry. For some reason I thought that was like a 30-minute fucking plane. Okay, and do you have some of the final like some of the clean sketches? You should definitely do those. But other than that, yeah, just clean up your lines and just look at these plays that Alina did. I think that's gonna be the biggest thing. And then just send me more. Okay. Next up, we got Sam. Sam has been kind of doing some 5 minute sketches as well, which I'm really happy with. For some reason, for Sam, I don't know if she's here, but Sam, I feel like your 5 minute sketches are better than like your overlays, like your normal work. So that's kind of weird. Like I don't know why that is. Maybe you kind of let go, but your 10-minute sketches are like really good. Actually, even the 5 minute sketches, like That's better than anything you've sent me before, like when it comes to the overlay. So maybe you were kind of like overthinking it when it came to the overlay, and the 5 minute sketch you kind of just let go. So the biggest thing for Sam, let me actually see what I wrote down. Working on the lines improvement. Oh yeah, so she actually wrote me an email. Let's read the email. Um, I also have a question concerning your critique. Can you expand on what you mean by improving my lines? I don't think I've experienced enough yet to understand the difference between poor lines and the lines that you're looking for. Could you break it down for me? What's the best way to improve? Just warming up my lines in circles like we talked about? Are there any efficient practices? Yeah, that's gonna be a huge thing. Is just doing like circles and triangles and all these basic shapes. But I think another thing would be again to just kind of like look at Alina's work or anybody with like good strong lines and just ask yourself what the difference is, right? So if you look at your lines, you can kind of sense how. I mean, honestly, these ones are much better. Like all these problems with lines that I used to say was back like when you was doing the other sketches. Like these ones, I don't know for some reason they seem a lot better. But you can still kind of push the lines a bit more. So what I advise Sam to do is, for some reason your 10-minute sketches are much better than your normal ones. So keep doing 10-minute sketches, but I want you to do is just add the lines on top of these 10-minute sketches. Did I say lines? I'm sorry, I meant planes. So just add the planes on top of the 10-minute sketches because right now it looks good, but it's kind of lacking that structure. So you kind of have to find the balance between the structure and the lines. Like you can't just have purely the lines, but with no uh, structure. I mean, if you're doing 10-minute sketches, it's cool, but you gotta do longer ones as well. I hope that helps. I did let go. I don't know what you mean, but your work is definitely good. So keep letting go. Keep whatever that means. That sounds like a sexual thing, but definitely let go though. Okay. Yeah, and finally, last but not least, my girl Sonia. Um, well, I don't know if it's not least, but she's been doing kind of like some different plays and stuff. And for Sonia, man, you definitely need to improve. And by the way, I appreciate you writing these things right here on the bottom. It seems like a lot of work because I told her to name her files, and she she thought that you should name them inside. I just meant like the file name. Alina says, I think you can see the difference in lines if you compare the sketch and the 10-minute text under it. Oh, yeah. Oh, what? Under it. Yeah, that's a good point. So, Sam, if you actually look at like the way you wrote the 10-minute thing, if you're able to kind of do the same confidence in your own lines, I feel like that's going to be a big difference. It's just about you pushing harder and thinking about the confidence. Like when you write 10 minutes, like you're confident in that. When you're doing the line, you're kind of like, I don't know. And another thing, start drawing with black. So don't use blue and red and all this shit. Use blue and red only if you're using it on top of the reference. If you're doing a freehand sketch, I don't know, it looks aesthetic, but it's not really useful because your lines are gonna be even more faded. So what we're trying to go for is actually like thicker and blacker lines. Everything sounds sexual to me. Oh yeah, Sonia is here. So Sonia, baby, you need to work on your lines. That's the biggest thing. Like, you need to work on your proportions. You need to kind of work on your lines. If you kind of like look at the way other people do it, it's just a lot of. Am I even holding up on my nipple? It's getting late, everybody. It's getting late. So if you look at other people, you can kind of see how their lines are just a lot more clear, a lot more confident. Okie dokie, black it is. Hell yeah, I want everybody to go with some black. Okay, enough with the blue and shit. So yeah, Sonia, what I want you to start doing is really draw a lot of circles, draw a lot of squares. I'm gonna show you an exercise right now that you can kind of implement. Draw one dot, then just draw another dot, and then just try to connect them. Ooh, that was a pretty good try. So just keep drawing dots and keep trying to connect them, even if you're doing traditional, because you really need to build up that confidence. And that kind of goes back to Sam as well, like anybody with bad lines. Just keep drawing dots and connecting them so you can kind of get a sense of like really strong and long lines, right? Do a lot of circles, do a lot of squares. And another thing for Sonia, really important, is I want you to download, like if you're using traditional, print out references. So lower the opacity in Photoshop, print them out, and start drawing on top of the reference. Because right now, you're just doing it freehand, and you don't really have, you know, the I'm figuring it out. I'm a perfectionist, so I keep erasing, overthinking. Yeah, no need to overthink, baby. That this is just like this is kind of imagine as if it's just like a bunch of scratching. Like it's not even like we're not to the point where we're doing like a masterpiece or anything. Like that's purely just as much as you can do it, the better you're gonna be. So no need to even erase this shit. This is kind of weird, but you know, if this was fun to you, keep doing it. But I don't think you get anything out of doing a work like this. Like it's just so weird. But you know, if you have fun, you know, keep it going. I think you know Sonia told me about her health problems, so I hope that's good, baby. Don't focus on the planes, just focus on the land. Do basic shapes and draw on top of the reference. So draw more on top of the reference and do more basic shapes. And I think with that, we just wrapping up the live stream. It was my longest live stream ever. But you know what? I had a lot of fun, man. So thank you so much to everybody. Holy shit, I got 18 people, man. 18 people stayed for fucking 2 hours. I really appreciate you, everybody, man. Thank you so much again. Thank you for all the support. I think I've reached like 1.5K a month. You know, it really means a lot. And I don't know, keep joining, man. Use this fucking coronavirus to practice. You know what it is? And stay healthy. Keep practicing. I'm gonna talk to you next week. Send me more stuff. I love you. Bye.